All right, well, hello and welcome to today's free training called Grab Their Attention, 7 Ways Churches Can Get Noticed in Their Community. I'm so excited that you have taken the time to watch this. I'm going to try to make this as valuable, as brief as possible, and just to get right to it, to give you actionable and practical, insanely practical tools and ideas for how you can get the attention and get noticed in your community. And here's why we're doing this training today, because churches have this important mission. I mean, the mission that God has given you, there is eternal significance to what you're trying to do. And from time to time, I work with businesses, and I love working with businesses, and it's awesome. And so much of what happens in the business world is applicable to us in the church world. But there is nothing to me like helping a pastor grow the church, have a healthy church, because the mission of the church has eternal significance. And so thank you for what you do, because it really, really matters. And so your church has got this big, important, God-given mission. The other thing, and one of the reasons I love pastors, and we at Church Fuel love serving and resourcing pastors, is because you have a big mission and vision. It's not just that the church has this big important message, it's that you specifically, you have a big mission for the church and a big vision for your specific church. And there's a lot of other things you could be doing. It's always comical to me that people think pastors go into the ministry for the money, because you could probably be making a lot of money doing something else, and you could probably have a whole lot less stress doing something else. But you're called and you're committed to a local church, and we are so thankful for that, and we are in your corner. And that's one of the reasons we want to talk about this, because while you have an important message, and while you may have a big mission, and while you may have a compelling vision, so many times churches often lack the strategy to accomplish that. And we absolutely love coming alongside churches and helping them create a strategy. So what we're going to talk about today is really a part of that growth strategy. It's a part of that outreach strategy. It's about getting noticed and getting attention, because let's face it, most people in your town, in your city, in your zip code, most people, they are unaware of your church. They've never been to your website. They don't know your programs. They don't know what you're talking about in your kids' ministry. They don't know about your upcoming sermon series. They don't know about your events. They don't know about you. Most people don't know your church exists. And it's really hard for people to visit a church that they don't know is there. And so we're going to talk today about 7 ways that your church can get noticed. And I want to encourage you to adopt a long-term strategic view on this that kind of follows these 3 bullets, or these 3 buckets. First of all, you're going to see that this is going to build trust. That as you do these 7 things that we're going to talk about today, you are going to build trust with your community. And trust is so important. Trust is why people listen to you. Think about it. The reason that Democrats don't listen to Republicans and Republicans don't listen to Democrats is not because they don't believe in what they're saying. It's because they don't trust them. You've actually heard people say this. I don't trust that guy. He's a Democrat. I don't trust her because she's a socialist. I don't trust him because he is a right-wing, ultra-conservative Republican. We don't listen to people we don't trust. And so if you want the people in your community to listen to your important message, it is vital that they come to trust you. Trust, as you build it, it actually leads to influence. That's why the people that you allow to speak into your life are the people that you trust. That's why you listen to friends more than you listen to critics. It's why you listen to your spouse more than you listen to a random person. Trust leads to influence. And then when you have trust and when you have influence, it leads to opportunity. Now, so many times that I made this mistake, so many times in trying to grow the church and wanting the best and wanting to reach people, I jumped right to the opportunity. I jumped right to inviting. I jumped right to come here, come to our service, come to our church, come to our program, come to our ministry. I didn't take time to build trust. I didn't take time to build influence. And so therefore I had less opportunities to invite people. Now I wholeheartedly believe, and I think you believe this too, that personal invitations are the best way for people to come to a church. In fact, when you tell your church to invite, you say things like, hey, most people show up at a church because someone invites them. So invite them. Invite, invite, invite. I think as you go through this training today, as we walk through this in the next few minutes, as you do these 7 things, you're not negating the need for personal invitations. You're actually enhancing the need for personal invitations. You're actually making those personal invites work better. And so we're going to talk about some tactics. We're going to talk about some strategies, a couple shifts that you can make in your communication that are going to help your church get noticed. And as your church get noticed, think about it. When your people go out and invite, they will be inviting people to come to a church that they already trust, that they've already allowed to influence them in a certain way. There are so many benefits to this system. I think it's going to really, really, really help. So let's dive in. I want to share with you 7 ways you can get noticed. First way is this. Number 1, use your platform to share community events. Use your platform, use your communication platform, your space that you have to share community, not just church events. Here's what I mean by that. Most churches have some sort of Facebook page or Twitter account, bulletin, or email system that they email different people. And in most of those places, in most of those platforms, in most of those channels, what we do is we talk about our own things. Come to our Bible study, come to our new series, sign up for our event, volunteer to serve here at the church. I want to encourage you to shift this, to use your platform. Use the space that you have to influence people through communication, through words. Not just to talk about your church, but to talk about your community, to plant your church in the community, not just invite the community to come to your church. And here's what I mean by that. Let's just take your Facebook page, for example. And if your church doesn't have a Facebook page, you should get one, because the world is on Facebook. And so your church should have a Facebook page. But the churches that do have a Facebook page, do you know what we use our Facebook pages for? We use them to promote ourselves. Come to our series. Here's our event. Here's our calendar. Look at what we're doing. Instead, just imagine with me for a minute, if you use your public Facebook page to promote the events that were happening in your community, to promote the upcoming play that was at the local high school, to promote the farmers market on Saturday, to promote the sports leagues that were happening in your town. And if you took just your Facebook page and you said, we're not just going to talk about ourselves, but we're going to talk about what's going on in the community. And when we talk about the play at the high school, we're going to tag the chorus director, the drama director. When we talk about the downtown farmers market, we're going to tag some of our political officials or some of our community engagement people. We're going to tag these people. We're going to share this with them. And guess what? Then they're going to start sharing. They're going to start paying attention. They're going to share things that your church posts. As you talk about the stuff that's going on in the community, people in the community begin to notice. As you talk about stuff that's going on in your church, people in your church will notice. But if you talk about stuff that's going on in your community, people in your community will notice. And then they'll start talking about it. Then they'll start sharing it. And guess what happens? They are now being influenced, albeit at a very superficial, at a very basic level. They're being influenced in a positive way by your church. They may not agree with you. They might not believe the Bible yet, but they are getting valuable, useful information from your church. And that is gold. If you want your church to be noticed by your community, start talking about the community. You don't have to stop talking about your church, but start talking about your community. Share things that are going on. Let me give you kind of the ratio that I would use, that I would recommend. I recommend a 3-to-1 ratio. For every one thing you tweet or Facebook or Instagram or talk about yourself, and again, not in a bad way. I mean, come to our series. Here's our event. Look at that. That's talking about yourself. Now, it's altruistic. It's good. It's a good thing. But for every one thing you talk about yourself, spend 3 times as much stuff talking about things that are going on in the community. If you don't know what to tweet or Facebook or post or share, then you're not involved in the community enough. And you need to find out what's going on in your community and use your space as a church to share community events. I promise you, people will take notice in your community. You will get more engagements, you will get more likes, you will get more shares, and you will build more trust, and you will build more influence, and all of this will lead to more conversations if your church will promote community events. Number 2, repurpose your existing content. Repurpose your existing content. Now, you don't think about your church having content. That's not a word that you use in church, but your church does have a treasure trove of content. I mean, you've got a vault full of helpful content. I mean, think about it. If you just finished a sermon series on the book of Acts, then you've got weeks and weeks and weeks worth of content. And what happens in most churches is we finish our sermon series, we finish our book study, we finish our men's retreat, we finish our thing. It goes away and we're on to the next thing. So just pause for a second. What if you took that helpful content that you already created and you repurposed it and you repackaged it in a way that people could consume and a way that people could share? So when you're talking about repurposing existing content, I'm talking about two things. Make it shorter and make it shareable. Make it shorter and make it shareable. I mean, think about how that could work. If you took something that you've preached on or something that you've created and you make it short and you make it shareable. Why is this so important? Because that's the kind of stuff that gets consumed and shared online. And so think about the kind of content that you could create as a church. Let me just give you some examples of just some stuff that you could create, some helpful content that you could create. You probably have already talked about some of this in some ways. In some ways, this would be new. What if you created an ebook that said, hey, I'm brand new in town, and here's 10 things you need to know. I mean, just here's some sports leagues, and here's where the parks are, and here's the 3 biggest events that go on in our community, and here's some good restaurants that we like, and if you don't have a church, here's a church you could go to. I mean, what if you created this? And if you're new in town, and then your whole people in your church, they know people who are new in town, and they shared this with them. And you just made this short, 3-4 pages, just a little ebook, and you provided this a valuable thing that gets downloaded, that gets shared. What if you put together a PDF called 10 Affordable Date Nights? You know, I mean, if you've preached on a marriage series and one of your points was, hey, you should date your spouse. I mean, go out. Well, what if you put together a PDF that was like, hey, here's 10 great date nights. You may even have 10 married couples in your church share their 10 favorite. Boom, there's your content. This isn't complicated. This isn't hard. But if you put that together and, you talked about 10 affordable date nights, and that's really helpful. And people in your community, they may not even believe in Jesus yet, but all of a sudden it's like, man, that church, they gave me a good idea. They gave me a good idea. That was great. What about a video on helping kids become teenagers? Or helping, you could aim it at teenagers, or you could create it for parents. Hey, if you've got an elementary kid and they're becoming a teenager, here's some really wise parents who've learned some things, and here's what they said when the teenager said this. Here's what they did when their teenager did this. And that was just a few videos. And you could create this content. I mean, you could create devotional guides. You could create sermon summaries. You could get somebody to summarize your sermon in 1 page. You could create helpful resources and repurpose it and repackage it. I mean, you could, once you get this content, right, we call it a giveaway. At Church Fuel, in our content marketing course, we call this a giveaway. And we show you actually how to create a giveaway. It could be a video series, an ebook, a checklist. And we give you so many tools and ideas for how to do this. But we talk about how to promote it. I mean, once you've got a great giveaway, that you can engage your church in promoting it just like you promote a series. You can ask your church to share with their friends just like you ask them to invite. You can promote it online. You can go on Facebook and instead of just saying, come to church, come to church, come to church, or come to our event, here's our thing, look at me. You could say, here's a free date night guide. Here's a free family guide. Here's a free video that'll help you get out of debt. Promoting that kind of content on social media is so much more effective at creating conversations and building trust than just making announcements. So repurpose and repackage some of your existing content and ideas and put it in ways that people can download and share. Number 3, really get to know your community. Now you go, I know, Michael, this is a no-brainer. I know my community. I've lived here for 20 years. I'm not talking about knowing where the high school is and knowing where the park is and knowing what events happen throughout the year. I'm talking about the ethos of the community. I'm talking about the pulse of the community. What are people afraid of? What do people love about living there? What do they hate about living there? What are they nervous about? What are their hopes? What are their fears? What are their dreams? What do they want to be when they grow up? What keeps them up at night? What are they worried about? If they were going to go to church, what would they want the church to be like? Why don't they go to church? Why did they used to go to church but don't go anymore? What is really going on with people in your community? What are their needs? What are the number one needs of your community? What do the people in your community say the number one needs are? What are the leaders in your community? What are the needs at your kids' schools? What's going on in the schools? What do they need? What do they not need? What do they think they need, but what do they really need? Really get to know your community. Now, how do you do this? Well, there's a couple ways to do it. 3, first of all, you can ask. You can ask. I remember when we planted a church just north of Atlanta back a few years ago. Before we even had a church, I mean, we just had a core team or a launch team, core group that became a launch team. And when we just had 20 people, I mean, we didn't have a church. We just had a few people. I used to go sit in a coffee shop or I would go sit in a restaurant, and I would literally just strike up conversations with people. And for an introvert, this was awful. I mean, this was terrible. I'd be exhausted after one 30-minute conversation. But I would go up to people and I would say, hey, what do you like about living here? What do you not like about living here? I'm new in town. We're actually thinking about doing something crazy. I mean, we're going to start a church. Is that a good idea? Is that a bad idea? I mean, what should it be about? I mean, what if you had to listen to a sermon, what would you want it to be about? I used to have conversations with people just by asking what's going on in their world. And if you'll ask questions, you'll find that you get just beneath the surface, not the superficial answers, but the real answers of what's going on with people. Because that's what these giveaways that you create, even your sermons that you preach on, they need to tap into this kind of stuff. They need to tap into this. Not only just ask, but you can survey. Now, I'm a big believer in surveying your church, but I'm not talking about surveying your church. I'm talking about surveying your community. Did you know that you can go on to surveymonkey.com and you can actually survey people in your community and find out what they think about different stuff? And you could pay just pennies, a dollar, a couple dollars, usually not more than that, to get survey responses. How powerful would it be if you surveyed a few hundred people in your community to find out what they were really thinking, what they were really asking? I mean, do you think your sermons would be better? Do you think your messages would be better? Would your events be better if you knew what was actually going on in the minds and hearts of people that lived in your community? If you want to get noticed in your community, take time to really understand what is happening in your community, what is going on underneath the surface, behind the scenes in your community. If you can ask and answer these questions, you'll be in a much better position to create stuff that gets noticed. Number 4. Continually ask. Continually ask what's in it for them. Continually ask what's in it for them. I don't know if you read blogs, but if you do, I would love for you to read our blog at Church Fuel. If you go to churchfuel.com, there's a link to the blog in the top right of the website. But not long ago, we did a blog post called "Are using a selfie strategy to promote your church?" And we talked about selfies, and this was the most popular selfie over the last year or so in the United States. I mean, this was a selfie that Ellen took at an award show, and you just look at all these famous people. You got Brad Pitt, Kevin Spacey, all these people, Jennifer Lawrence. You got all these famous people here in this selfie, and she, posted this selfie, and it went viral, and everybody's clicking on it, the selfie. And then there was an astronaut. I mean, an astronaut, it's pretty hard to beat this selfie. I mean, a selfie in space is pretty big deal. You got the sun back there, and then you look at his helmet. It's like the whole International Space Station. I mean, a selfie from space is pretty epic. But a selfie, when you think about it, is pretty selfish, right? Maybe that's what it's called, a selfie, because it's a picture of ourselves. But maybe it should be called a selfie because it's of ourselves. And it's like, look at me. Here's my new hairdo, and here's my new eyeliner that I'm wearing, or here I am in front of a cool thing, or here I am with the light and a filter just right, and look at me, look at me, look at me. And there's nothing inherently wrong with the selfie. There is something inherently wrong with the selfie stick, but there's nothing inherently wrong with the selfie. But when you think about it, it's pictures of ourselves. And so we talked in that blog post at churchfuel.com, we talked about the selfie strategy of promoting, where we're just saying, look at me, look at me. And as churches, I mean, we do this. We're like, here's our new series, look at me. Here's our new event. Here's the speaker. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. Look at me. Come to this new thing. It's going to be great. Look at me. Look at me. And we're talking about ourselves. And that's what we do on our Facebook pages and what we do on social media. It's what we do. And we just talk about ourselves. And in order to create engagement, in order to get noticed, you know what we've got to flip? We've got to stop talking about ourselves and start talking about the community, because here's what people love to talk about. People love to talk about themselves. So if you'll flip it and talk about other people instead of talking about yourself, you'll have much better results for your communication. Now, in the business world, I think I shared a minute ago that from time to time, businesses will ask me to come in and help them with growth, because just like churches want to grow, businesses want to grow. And I love working with churches, but I also will help some businesses from time to time as well. And we talk about this a lot. And in the marketing world, we talk about the difference between features and benefits. And features, I'm holding in my hand. You can't see it right now, but I'm holding in my hand at my phone. And when my phone came out, you can go on the website and read the specs, or the specifications of the phone. And it'll tell you what the pixel size is. And it'll tell you how big the screen is. And it'll tell you it's got the A7 or A6 chip in it and all that kind of stuff. And those are features. Those are selfie descriptions of this phone. I don't really care so much about the features. I care about the benefits. So when they talk about, hey, it's got 2 cameras so you can FaceTime with your kids when you're traveling, I go, I need that. When it talks about the screen resolution, so stuff is brighter, so I can watch things outside. That's now moved into benefits. to where it's like, hey, I don't really care about how many lumens it has or pixels it has. But I've tried to watch something in outside, and it's pretty difficult. And so you shift the conversation from features to benefits. And this is something that we've got to learn to do in church as well. So we talk about small groups, and we're like, we've got small groups, and they're on Tuesday night, and they're on 7 o'clock. Feature, 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 selfie, selfie, selfie. So what we've got to do is we've got to shift it. And we've got to say, hey, there's small groups happening at the church. And if you are looking for a way to meet friends, if you want more friends in your life, then small groups will help you. That just shifted to benefits. You just shifted from the selfie strategy to the benefit strategy. And now you're talking about what's in it for them. When you're talking about, youth camp, going, here's the dates, here's the cost, here's the speaker, you're telling me features. But when you speak to parents and you say, hey, don't you wish your kids had better influences in their life? You just moved into benefits. And now I'm paying attention. Now I'm dialed in. So you've continually got to ask yourself what's in it for them. As you promote your church events, yes, you should talk about them. Yes, people need to know about them. But if you really want people to notice them, talk about what's in it for them. Why should they come? Why should they attend? What are they going to get out of it? What are they going to learn? How is their life going to be changed? Don't just talk about it's going to be epic. It's going to be life-changing. It's going to be the best ever. That's hype. Hype doesn't help. Hype doesn't help. But when you talk about the real benefits, when you understand what people really want and you connect what your church is doing to what they really want and use benefit language, it makes a huge difference. So I saw this on Twitter just this last week. I saw a pastor who is a great pastor. And a great pastor and does a great job and has a great church. But he was tweeting things like, and he said, hey, we're starting a new series. I'm so excited about church this Sunday. And he should be excited about church this Sunday. If you're a pastor and you're not excited about church, go get excited. Get excited about it. But he was saying, we're starting a new series on Ephesians. So excited, we're starting a new series on Ephesians. Well, I was like, you know what? He's just excited about Ephesians and just tweeted it out. No big deal. But I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? That's a little bit of the selfie strategy and a little bit of talking about the features. I don't know that there's anybody going, man, I so need a series on Ephesians. Man, I can't wait to have a series on Ephesians. Hey, we're doing a series on Ephesians. It's about us. It's not about them. What's in it for them? Well, think about what's in Ephesians for a minute. Parents, have you ever struggled with disciplining your kids because they won't obey? This Sunday, we're talking about that. That's in Ephesians. Now you've shifted it from feature language to benefit language. Now you've shifted it from being, hey, it's about us, we're starting this new thing, to how it's going to help them. Hey, you got a boss you don't like? Guess what? We're going to talk about that this week. We're going to talk about how to deal with that, because that's in Ephesians. Struggle with Christians who don't behave right, who say they believe one thing and behave a different way. Ever struggle with that? We're talking about that this week. Now you've shifted it to something that they've thought about or they wonder about. And so that's continually asking yourself what's in it for them. So as you create things that you want to get shared, as you create programs and ministries that you want to be noticed, make sure you're couching it all in language that speaks to benefits. Number 5, create a free resource page on your website. This is huge. This is so huge. If your church has a website, and of course you should, and you probably do, there's probably some stuff at the top, about me, service times, directions. Sometimes there's a give button. These are all good ideas. But what if for a minute that you had a free resource page on your website? What if up there in that top menu that you just had a page just of free stuff? And we've been talking about creating some content, repurposing some content, creating some ebooks or some checklists or some PDFs or some video, just helpful stuff. What if you put a page together of just helpful stuff for your community? The new in town guide, the date nights ideas, family trips, just helpful, short, consumable, digestible, shareable content. What if you created a free resource page on your website and actually helped people with the things they want to know about? See, so many times on our website, we share 30-minute videos, sermon series. We share all this long stuff. But what if we created really helpful, short stuff and shared it with people? Because here's what I know about people in your community. People who don't even go to your church. They care about their marriages. They care about their finances. They care about their community. They may even care about Jesus. They may want to know how to pray. They would absolutely love some helpful, practical information on what to do in some areas of their life, or where to go, or what to say, or how to act. Your church has information on this. You know something about that. You can speak into that conversation. So what if you put these tools and these resources together? What if you created budgeting tools and said, hey, if you need to create a budget, listen, even if you don't believe in Jesus, you should have a budget. Here's a free spreadsheet. Here's a free tool. Here's a free resource. Here's a free guide. Put this stuff on your website and make your website a destination for people looking for help rather than just a promotion about your church. Listen, I've looked hard for this. I look for examples of this stuff all the time, and I can't find a whole lot of churches who are doing this. But this is a huge opportunity to build trust, to build engagement, to build influence with people so that you can earn the right to invite. Can you imagine if somebody invites somebody to come to church, say, hey, you should come to our church this week. We're doing a series on Ephesians, and you'll love it. And that person goes, yeah, you know what? I've never been to your church, but I've been to your church website because you guys had those tools, those spreadsheets, man. I use those spreadsheets. Those things help my family. Or, man, you know what? I actually read something. I think I read an ebook by somebody at your church who had teenagers because, Emily just turned 13, and I don't know how to raise teenagers. And that was pretty helpful. I mean, do you see? This is long tail. This is huge. This is trust building. This is influence building. And it creates opportunities for people to engage with what you've got going on. So create a free resource page on your website. Number 6, be present at community events. Be present at community events. Here's some ways to get your church noticed. And this is so affordable. In many cases, it's just free. I remember we were planting that church in Atlanta. And we needed people to take notice. We needed people to know who we are. We were new in town. And we didn't have, we had a website, but nobody was visiting it. Nobody knew who we were. And there was this deal happening at this park down, kind of close to downtown, kind of the big park in town. And every 4th of July, it turns out they did this thing. They shut off fireworks at night, and during the day they had like a little carnival thing. Well, you could get a booth at this thing for like $150, a 10 by 10, area on the field, and you could set up stuff. And so for $150, we got a little booth, and we took a table out there and set up some face painters. And, our kind of core team, just 20, we didn't have a lot of people, just 25 people or so. We all volunteered, took turns. We're out there painting little faces and little smiley faces and animals and stuff. And then we had helium balloons with our new church logo on it. Rented a helium tank, and we passed out helium balloons and just giving out face painting, giving out some balloons. There was a bounce house. There were some other bounce houses there that cost some tickets, cost some dollars to get in. Ours was free, and we were just there. We were just present. And there were no other churches doing that. The only other churches that were there had booths of food. They were cooking food and selling it to raise money, and we were just there trying to just be nice. It obviously wasn't that complicated, but we were the only church there, doing something helpful. Over the next few years, lots of other churches started doing that, and it got noticed. We created conversations. We had conversations with people that were like, "Hey, I've never heard of this church. This new church?" Yeah, and we just created conversations in a very simple way. We just built a little tiny bit of trust and had a little tiny bit of influence, and that led to opportunities to invite people to come to church. And so, be present at community events. And your town may not have a 4th of July thing, but there's something. A couple years later, our downtown used to do trick-or-treating, and all the businesses would pass out candy. And honestly, churches wouldn't participate in that. We were kind of in this little southern town where, churches did their own thing. They did fall festivals. And, I'm not against fall festivals. I like them. But why in the world would I want to compete with Halloween? I'm not pro-Halloween. I'm pro-candy. And so we went downtown and passed out candy and passed out helium balloons and had an opportunity to create conversations like, we're from, this church, and here's some candy, happy Halloween. And they were like, what? We were just present. We just made the downtown thing better. And that opened doors with us with the Downtown Development Authority and the Chamber of Commerce. And being present, it actually helped our church get noticed by some people and opened doors that would not have been opened if we weren't there. One of my favorite pastors is a guy named Jeff Henderson. Jeff Henderson pastors a church in Atlanta called Gwinnett Church. And they do this, they have this campaign. I think it's called a campaign, but it's a hashtag. You can search the hashtag and find it. Just for Gwinnett. For Gwinnett. 2 N's, 2 T's. For Gwinnett. And Jeff talks about how so many churches are known by what they're against, and we want to be known by what we're for. And we are for Gwinnett. We're for the schools in our town. We're for we're for our community. And they talk about for Gwinnett, and they show up at stuff, man. They show up at events, and they got the small groups that are showing up at things and participating in things. And, it's not all about the church. It's not about Gwinnett Church, Gwinnett Church, Gwinnett Church. Look at me, selfie, 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 me, me, me. No, we're for our Gwinnett. If you're part of Gwinnett, we're for you. We're for our city. We're for our county. We're for our towns. We're for our neighborhoods. We're for our schools. And all that is that's just a simple way, a creative way to be present in your community. Number 7, you might think this is bad news, but I actually think this is good news. You can't do this by yourself. You need to engage a team of people on this mission. Now, I think that's good news because you get to engage people on this mission. Now, I have a buddy named Matt Adair, and Matt runs a great blog called Gridiron, Griddiron, gridiron.com. Matt's a pastor in a college town and writes a great blog. I mean, it's quickly becoming one of my favorite blogs on the internet for pastors. And he did a blog post back on April the 21st, and he said, here's the most important hire you will make. And I was like, whoa, that's interesting. What is it, a worship pastor? Is it an executive pastor? Is it small groups, discipleship? What is it? And he actually said the most important hire that you would make would actually be a content person. Somebody to take the messages and the message of your church and put it in bite-sized formats to do what we've been talking about, to create content, to repurpose content, to repackage content, and put it in a way that people can understand, to get it distributed out in the community, to get it shared out in the community. He talked about that. That'd be a most important hire you can make. But I think a team of volunteers can do this as well. In fact, if I was going to implement this in your church, I would look for 3 people. The first person I would look for a content producer. If you want to create visual content, I'd find somebody who's good with design, who's a good writer, who can make an ebook, who can make a PDF. Like, I'd find somebody who's just gifted at that. Maybe they could take a sermon series and turn it into a one-pager. Maybe they could take some video stuff and turn it into short videos. They could take a 30-minute video and create a highlight reel. I'd find somebody who's good with the content. Whether you want it to be audio, video, or written, I just find somebody who's a specialist. And you've got this person in your church. Then I'd find somebody who is a tech person who can go and get that thing online. This is a person who's on Facebook. They know how to get videos on Facebook. They know how to create engagement on Facebook. They know the difference between a Facebook page and a Facebook group. And they're just online. I mean, they spend time online. They may be 15 years old. They may be 65 years old. But they just get it. I mean, they get it. And they sign up for these kind of webinars and go, man, our church should be doing this. This is what I want to do. I want to get our content out, and I know how to do it. They know how to make a landing page. They know how to do an email autoresponder. I mean, or they'll figure it out because they're wired that way. So I'd find a content producer. I'd find a tech specialist. And then I'd find a project manager. Project manager doesn't need to know how to do either one of those things. They just need to know how to get stuff done. They just need to know how to get stuff done on time and on budget. I mean, this may be a stay-at-home mom. Some of the most organized people I know are stay-at-home moms because they got to organize a family schedule and a family house. And it may be somebody who does this for a living. I mean, it may be somebody who works in an office. It may be an office manager. But there's somebody in your church who God has wired this way. And when I look at all 3 of these volunteers, I go, God's gifted some of these people, and these are mental things they can do. These are not mental people, right? These are places they can serve with their mind. Too many times we just create places for people to serve with their hands and feet. But these are places where people can serve with their mind, and there's some smart people in your church. And you could put this team of people together. Now, here's the key. When you put this team of people together, you can't just say, here, you figure this out. You got to give them a system. Man, you got to give them something. You got to give them a framework. You can't say, hey, we stink at this. Go figure it out. Go solve it for us. But if you can give them a little bit of direction, if you can give them a little bit of guidance, if you can give them just a few steps, point them in the right direction, check in with them, a team of just 3 people like this can knock this stuff out of the park and get your church noticed like never before. Like no amount of direct mail, like no amount of just tweeting out stuff, like no flyers. I mean, like no signs and banners will do. If you can get this kind of stuff happening and churning and just coming out, over and over and over again, month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, your church, there will be a snowball that picks up. You'll pick up so much steam and create so much trust and so much influence to where more people in the community will have heard of you than have not heard of you. But you got to give these people a proven system. You can't just say, go figure it out. Hey, watch this webinar. Go figure it out. You got to give them a proven system. Now, the good news is I've created the whole system for you. I've created a 5-step proven system. Our team at Church Fuel put together a killer course and resource that'll help you do all of this. And so in this course, it's simply called Content Marketing for Churches, because actually, you may not have realized it, but what I've been talking about for the last 30 minutes or so is in the business world is called content marketing. In the church world, it's like value add outreach. That's what it is. We're talking about just adding value to people and earning the right to ask, building trust, building influence, and then earning the right to ask. It's about serving before we ask them. It's about helping before we invite them. And this course called Content Marketing for Churches actually lays out a 5-step system, and it's everything you need in order to do it. This course, Content Marketing for Churches, is a 6-module, so it lasts 6 weeks. It gives you everything you need to create and implement a content marketing strategy in your church. You can go through the course. Those 3 volunteers can go through the course. You can take your staff through the course. You can take your elders or deacons. You can take a volunteer team through this course. Your entire church, if you want, can go through this course. And it lasts just 6 weeks. And what's cool about it is when the 6 weeks is over, you'll have lifetime access to everything. So you can come back to it time and time again. You can go through it, and then when you go through it, maybe God brings some volunteers to mind. You can say, hey, I watched all this stuff. I went through all this stuff. Now here, I want you to do it. And then let's talk about it. Here's what you get in the course. You get 6 modules of coaching. We went into a studio. I hired a professional videographer, and I taught live to camera. I taught all 5 of the steps plus a intro course. So there's 6 modules of coaching. You'll get the video, but we'll also give you the audio, and we also put it in print in case you just like to read and don't want to watch stuff or listen to stuff. So 6 modules of coaching, and this coaching is insanely practical. It is step by step by step. The next thing you're going to get is a ton of resources, checklists, documents. We're not just going to tell you what to do. We're going to give you the tools with which to do it. Take a look at this list you're going to get. On the left side, here's all the videos we recorded. We start here video, a whole video on how to create a giveaway, how to make a 1-page website, how to follow up with people, the automated way. 2 tools you're going to need. I show you the two tools and break down for them exactly how to use them. I did a video on how to create a video series. Talked about how to make an ebook giveaway. If you want to make an ebook or a checklist or a PDF, exactly how you should do that and where you should upload it and how people should download it. How to promote your giveaway online and offline. How to measure and adjust everything. One thing I love about this system is because it's based on fact, not feeling. That's why I'm not a huge fan of direct mail anymore, because you can send out 10,000 postcards and you don't know if they work. And when they don't work, people just say, well, you created awareness. Listen, you don't want to create awareness. You want to invite people to come to church. And so this system, you can actually measure it based on real results. And if something's not working, you can make a change. You can't send a postcard out and realize if that postcard didn't work, it's too late to change it. You already spent money on it. We did screencasts for you on how to use lead pages and MailChimp. These are some tools that we use to do this stuff. We did a screencast on how to boost a post on Facebook. Rob did a screencast for you on how to create a Facebook ad. This is huge. There's a screencast on how to set up a custom audience and a lookalike audience. I wish I had time to talk to you about this right now, because this could revolutionize communications in your church if you would set up custom audiences and tailor your communication. Did you know that you can do a custom audience on Facebook just of your church members and show promoted posts or ads just to them? It's huge. It's a huge opportunity. We talked to you about running an A/B test, and then I recorded frequently asked questions. All those are videos you get in the course. But then look at the other side. We created all these ebooks and resources for you too. Example giveaways. When I talk about creating a giveaway, I actually put a zip file together of about 25 giveaways. Actual giveaways that people have given away. I give you a worksheet for how to brainstorm your own, plus a list of awesome giveaway ideas that your church could make. 10 great landing pages, a landing page checklist. And I know you may not know the term landing page, but we'll teach it to you in the course and help you set one up. Subject line cheat sheet. This is huge. This will help you even if you don't do this system. It'll help you create content, emails, blog posts, sermon titles even, that just get more attention. Sample follow-up emails. We talk about using automated email to follow up with people. I'm going to give you a Word document with all the emails in it. A guide to writing better email. 17 ways to get more subscribers. Did you know part of this system is you could have an email list of just thousands of people who live in your community? I mean, imagine that. You don't have to get direct mail or buy stamps or send them letters. That you could just email 5,000 people who live in your community anytime you want if you do and execute this system properly. And then we got job descriptions. Those 3 volunteers I mentioned, we wrote job descriptions for them. So you could say, here's what we want you to do, and hand it to them. The other thing that you get in the course, in addition to the coaching, in addition to all the resources, we create a private community. And this is kind of like a secret sauce. It's where you, as you're going through this course, you go through it with the other people in the course, and because we all start together, and we share, here's what we're working on, here's what we learned. take a look at this. Here's my giveaway. What do you think about this? How could this be better? And we learn from each other, not just from the experts. We learn from each other. Iron sharpens iron kind of thing. And so you'll get all of that when you join the course. The course begins on May 5th. And the reason I'm so passionate about this, I don't know if you can hear it in my voice. I want you to do this. This will help your church. This will give you a framework to build trust and influence using content that you're probably already creating. You just need to repackage. It'll help you invite more people to come to church. But registration closes on May the 4th, and the course starts on May the 5th. And so if you want to get in, you need to get in now, because on May the 5th, it is shut down and you won't be able to get in again until we offer it much later in the fall, probably like October. And so you won't be able to get in at any time. This isn't a, hey, I'll do this later. You need to get in now and jump in now and journey with us now. It's $297 to enroll in the course. Now, I have a business coach who told me that price is way too low, that the value of this course is upwards of $1,000. And he said, I would make more money if I charged $1,000 for it. Yes, a few less people would buy, but I would make more money. But I wanted as many churches as possible to do this, because I believe this is a great way to build trust and influence and grow your church and invite people to church. And I want your church to grow, and I want your church to be healthy. And you want your church to grow, and you want your church to be healthy. And so I priced this as low as we possibly could. It is worth much, much more than this. You're going to get tons of value. All the videos are HD. There's so much content that's helpful in the ebooks and the resources and the checklists and the guides and all the stuff. It's $297. But enrollment closes down on May the 4th. And so if you're going to get in, you need to get in. Justin Lathrop, who is the Director of Strategic Relations for the Assemblies of God denomination, said this. He said, this course is one of the most solid investments the church can make in its efforts to engage people outside of its four walls. Because that's what we're talking about, how to engage people that don't come to your church. Developing content to connect people is one of the most effective engagement tools you could use. And this course will lay out for you a step-by-step process to make it work. That's what this course is about. It's not about theory. It's exactly what to do. You go, man, this thing feels overwhelmed. You do step 1. And then when you're done with step 1, you do step 2. And then when you're ready, you do step 3. It's step by step, and I believe it will help your church. And so I want to encourage you to enroll. You can sign up at churchfuel.com/content marketing. churchfuel.com/content marketing. You'll see all the information. You'll see all the details of the course. You'll see everything we cover in each of the 6 modules. You'll see the link to sign up, and you'll have the opportunity to sign up and participate. Registration closes on May the 4th. The course starts on May the 5th. When you're done, as you move throughout the 6 weeks, then you will have lifetime access. You and everyone in your church will be able to benefit from this. It's called Content Marketing for Churches, content that serves. And I believe it's a great way to implement these things that we talked about on this training today. So jump in, sign up, come join us, and we'll see you on the inside.